Hello everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I am your resident fantasy therapist and welcome to my channel. Those of you who are returning, welcome back. Those of you who are brand new, welcome. My name is Kat Bowser. I am a licensed therapist, but I'm also an author working on my first novel. And on my channel, I like to dig into what I consider to be the heart of writing, which is the characters. The heart of the characters is in their psychology. So that is the angle we take with everything we talk about on my channel, is the psychology of it. So today, I wanted to dig some more into my series on world building. So last time we talked about the beliefs of a culture, and today I wanted to get into building a religion. Okay, so what is it to develop a fantasy or sci-fi or whatever fictional religion? I think this is one of my favorite aspects of world building, mainly because it has so much influence over everything else. But it is also one of those that it is very easy to fall down the black rabbit hole of, oh, I need to develop this, I need to develop this, I need to develop this, I need to develop this. Very easy to do. If you want to put that much thought into it, that's great. But I think the important thing to consider is how much of it is going to show up in your book, in your world. It's great for you to know, but I think in a lot of cases, writers get so caught up in developing this religion that they kind of forget to do the story that goes along with it. So these are just kind of my way of developing a religion for your world. My work in progress currently has, I believe it's 12. I think. I think it's 12. And the reason I say I think it's 12 is because I have a few that are mentioned that I don't go into in detail or depth, but they are mentioned because they're different. They're different than the rest of the groups, and I think that's important. Um, the main religions that you will run into in my work is the belief of Natur. The I haven't actually decided if it's a cult or what I want to call it. Um, so then you have the belief of Natur. You have the devotion to Aruda. You have universalism. You have the Stoneman religion, which goes by numerous names, the most popular being parental earth is really what they call it, parental earth. There is the belief of the father, the belief of the mother, and then there are numerous other ones, including a couple. The centaurs, as a general rule, worship the sun. There is another group that has a belief in energy everywhere, things like that. So, but if you're developing a religion, I think the first thing you need to ask is there's mainly three things that a religion should answer bare bones. We'll get into the extra stuff later, but bare bones. How did we get here? What are we supposed to do while we're here? What happens after we die? Those are the main bare bones requirements for a religion. Because religion and the beliefs that go along with religion form out of a desire to understand both the world and our place in it. So, for instance, I'll use my one of my own religions in my work in progress as a example here. So, how did we get here? According to the belief of Natur, Natur is one of four gods, and she is the prime god. And she developed the world and all the creatures in it, etc., etc., etc. And she put a spark, a little bit something extra, in one of the creatures, and that eventually evolved and developed into the race of creatures that is called Natu. And so that is their belief that They were created, but they also evolved. That's their belief. Um, the belief of the father and the belief of the mother have the belief that they were created, but they were created as they are, um, eons ago, and that they haven't really changed that much since then. That's their belief. Universalism is the belief of the Dragreen, and they believe that the universe created the gods, not the other way around. So the world formed scientifically, the animals formed scientifically, and that is how they came about. So then we have the second question: what is our job while we're here? What are we supposed to do? Again, depending on the religion, you're going to have a different answer. According to the belief of Natur, you're here to enjoy. You are here to live. You are here to experience. That is your purpose, is just to live, experience, learn, enjoy. In fact, in the Natuba language, the word natur not only means life or spring, but it can also literally mean bliss. And that is literally what their belief is we are here to experience bliss, to enjoy the world. And then if you go into some of the other religions, the Stonemen, for instance, their belief is that their job while they're here is to create and to develop. Their job is to create art, to create technology. That's what they're here to do, because that is honoring the fact that they came from the earth. So that is their belief. Universalism, their belief is one of those that kind of varies, but the overall idea is that your job is to procreate. Your job is to have children and make the world better than it was when you first came in. So there's that. Last question, or of the three bare bones ones. What happens after you die? I think this is where people kind of get stuck, because usually there's either a sense of heaven or a sense of hell, or there's this belief in nothing. That's what I've seen the most when I look at fantasy religions. It's not necessarily all of them, but that's what I see the most. And I won't deny, I kind of do it too. The belief of Natur, they have a belief in the eternal garden, and they have the belief in the desert of the damned. But there's a little bit of a throw in there, is if you are sent to the desert of the damned, you have a choice to be born again and try again. If you fail twice, you're stuck, because then it's kind of this belief that there's something fundamentally wrong with your soul. With the Universalism, they take a different approach in that their culture believes in they create gods. They choose people when they pass on to make a god, and they do it through their religious organization. Everybody else, their energy just kind of lingers until essentially the world's cycle is up, and then they are essentially reformed again. The Centaurs believe in continuous reincarnation. They are always reborn, always living their lives again. Belief of the father and of the mother is basically, if you follow all the rigid rules set in place in the belief of the father, you will be rewarded by going to their version of heaven. If you do not, you go to their version of hell. Belief of the mother's similar, is a little more mercy in it. There are ways that you can essentially repent for things that you've done wrong. That does not exist in the belief of the father. So, anyway, so that is, I think, the three basic questions that religions need to answer in your novel. But needless to say, religion is more complicated than that. Another thing to consider is, does your religion have religious organization to it? In that, are there churches? Are there synagogues? Things of that nature. Are there people who are in power in these organizations? How do they get in power? How do they stay in power? For example, belief of the Father, it's very patrilineal. In order to be in a position of power in the organization, you have to be male. You have to be the firstborn male in your family. If you're not, you can't be in charge of their religious organization. You can be a helper, so to speak, but you cannot ever rise to like their position of like what we would call a high priest and things like that. Belief of a mother is kind of the opposite. The females are in charge. And if you're male, you can be a helper, but you can't ever be in charge. The belief of nature has no churches, has no priests. It is strictly a individualized belief. And generally what happens is the major group believes in the same thing, but they don't believe in creating churches or buildings of organization or anything like that, because their focus is on nature. Nature is where they believe they came from, so nature is where you return respect. There you go. The belief in Aruda is typically restricted to like the northern areas, and they do have mild organization, but not much. It's more like each family kind of has their head person that's in charge and can interpret essentially signs and things like that. So that's something to consider. What kind of organizations do you have? And the thing I'd like to bring up with this is, what influence do your organizations have on the politics and on the economy? Because if we just go back to the Middle Ages with us, the church, particularly the Catholic Church, for a long time had a lot of power. Even though we had kings and queens that were in charge, so to speak, the church could influence and say, okay, we want you to do this. If you don't do this, then we can excommunicate you because you're not following God's law. So, yeah, they had a lot of power. For the longest time, the priests and bishops and things like that, they had a lot of power over the common folk because the majority of the common folk could not read. So to really serve your religion and your belief, you had to depend on your priest to interpret God's word for you. Then we got the translation of the Bible, and we got the printing press and all that fun stuff. And now suddenly the priest did not have as much power, because now the normal folk could access a Bible written in the common tongue, and they could learn to read it. And that's when we got the Enlightenment, and people started to develop their own ideas and not necessarily based on what they've all been told before, etc., etc. Now, obviously, I'm basing this just off European history right now, just to give an example, but something to keep in mind. The other thing is, something I see a lot in fantasy and fictional religions is you identify a group that has a certain belief, and everybody has the same belief. Doesn't really work that way, guys. It really doesn't. You can have, for example, a group of, let's say, Christians together. I can guarantee you about 75% of them, even if they are the exact same denomination, are going to have variations in what they believe, what they think. And that's going to be true with your religions too. Like even within the belief of Nature, for instance, there is variation on when she will be merciful, how you can employ her to be merciful, things like that. In the belief of Aruda, there is a belief that some people think that she has no mercy, she's not going to intervene. You just have to show her respect because that's what is expected of you. Others believe that you can do certain acts that will call on her for a favor, things like that. Small differences like that build up and they make your characters more fully fleshed because, like I said, even in the same denomination, you're going to have people that disagree on things. And not one group isn't usually going to believe, everybody's not going to believe the exact same thing. Like, the belief of the mother and the belief of the father are actually, they are actually a split from one religion in my work. It used to be you had the belief in the god and the goddess. And through history, it's split. And so then you have the belief of the father, belief of the mother. So they all technically come from the same religion, but they've split apart and they've formed their own. And even though the Natuba, for instance, are very heavily belief of Natur, you have different beliefs within that belief. Like one of the main characters, they have a belief in Tria, who is another goddess in their religion. And then you have a couple that believe in just the energy around. They don't believe there's any formation. You have some people that don't believe in anything. They just believe in the scientific development. And that makes sense too. The variety is, I think, the most important part when you're developing a religion, the variety. And the other thing is, I think this is probably the most important because a lot of people like to develop myths and things like that. And I'm not against that. That's fun. That's great. It makes your religion more fleshed out. But I think the more important thing is to determine what is taboo by your religion. What is something that you can't do, because that's going to influence your society. For example, the one thing that all my religions have in common is this belief that hurting a child is taboo. It's not allowed. Now you can twist it, like people that have the belief of the father and the belief of the mother have been known to twist it to suit their beliefs. Well, this doesn't count, this doesn't count. And I do that because people do that. There are always ways to kind of weave things to suit your objective. I mean, let's be honest here. We do it all the time. The human mind is extremely good at rationalizing things. But I think that's something to keep in mind is what is considered to be taboo in your religion. Because that's going to influence your society. It's going to influence traditions. It's going to, even in some cases, it's going to influence even things like food. I mean, if you look at the traditional Jewish religion, there are a lot of things you're not allowed to eat. And I know that in Islam, I believe it's there's some restrictions as well. In Hinduism, I know there's some restrictions. I'm not an expert on it, so I'm not going to say what they are, but I know they are there. My husband is Catholic, and so during Lent, we cannot have meat on Fridays. So that's usually when I go buy fish. I'm Christian, but not Catholic, so that isn't something that I observe, but we have to make amends to our family life because I respect my husband's belief in it. So, like I said, religion is complicated. It's very complicated, and history has a strong influence on it as well. But that is going to be a topic for another video because I think history is one of the most important aspects of your world building, and so we'll go into that later. I honestly think that'll probably be the longest video, but we'll see what happens. So for now, I'm going to leave it just at that because, like I said, this is just a bare bones, the basics when you're talking about world building. There's things in here I didn't address, like traditions and stuff, but I will go into that in a traditions video. So I hope you guys found this interesting. And if you did, please make sure to drop a comment or suggestion below. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss when I upload. Um, I always try to upload on Sundays and Thursdays. Occasionally try to give you guys some extra videos in there, so keep an eye out for that. And until next time, I hope you guys have a good one.